There was a boy named Rayon who always felt like he was running behind. Behind in school, behind in popularity, behind in life. He wasn't lazy and he wasn't lost. He just didn't know what his thing was. So, like many do, he started copying others. He joined the sports team because his best friend did. He started posting videos because someone else in class went viral. He dressed like the kids who got attention. He said things he didn't fully believe, because those were the words people seemed to like. And at first, it worked. People noticed him more, laughed at his jokes, liked his photos. For the first time, Rayon felt like he was part of something. But at night, when the lights were off and the room was quiet, he didn't feel full. He felt hollow, like everything he had gained wasn't really his, and worst of all, he wasn't even sure who he was anymore. The next day at school, Rayon overheard a group of students talking about someone's video that had gone viral. "He's so original," one of them said. "You can tell it's real." That word, original, stuck in his head. Later that afternoon, as he scrolled through his own profile, Rayon saw a version of himself that didn't feel like him. Every post, every caption, every outfit was modeled after someone else. There was no trace of the boy who used to sketch in notebooks, who once stayed up late building model airplanes just for fun. He had traded pieces of himself for pieces of popularity, and now he wasn't sure how to get them back. At dinner, his older sister looked at him and said, "You're acting different lately. Not worse, just less you." Rayon didn't respond, but deep inside, he felt something shift. A discomfort that wasn't about failing, but about faking. And for the first time, he asked himself a question he hadn't dared to before. What if being like them means never becoming me? That night, Rayon pulled out an old box from under his bed. Inside were pages of half-finished drawings, a broken model plane, and a notebook filled with ideas he had once been excited about. They were messy, imperfect, but they were his. He sat there for hours, flipping through pages, feeling both regret and relief. Regret for letting go of the things he loved. Relief for finding a piece of himself still waiting. The next day, he didn't wear what was trending. He wore what felt like him. He didn't post. He didn't force a laugh. He just showed up. People noticed, but differently this time. They didn't cheer. They didn't mock. They just watched. Curious. And Rayon realized something most people miss. Standing out doesn't always mean being loud. Sometimes it just means being real. He wasn't sure where this path would lead, but at least it was his. If you're ready to stop following and start becoming, hit subscribe and turn on the bell. Your real path starts with one honest step. In the days that followed, Rayon didn't transform overnight. There were moments he still felt tempted to blend in, to mimic, to do what others did just to feel accepted. But now, there was a voice inside him that kept asking, "Is this really you?" He began saying no to things he used to force himself into. He stopped laughing at jokes he didn't find funny. He deleted videos he had made just to keep up. It felt like peeling off a costume he had worn for too long. And the more he let go of imitation, the more space he found for creation. He started sketching again. Not for likes, not for praise, just because it made him feel calm, alive even. He brought his model airplane kit back out. It wasn't impressive to anyone else, but to him it meant something. One afternoon, while quietly drawing at school, a classmate walked over. "Did you draw that?" she asked. Rayon nodded. She smiled. "It's different. I like it. Not popular, not viral, just different." And that was enough. As the weeks passed, something strange began to happen. Rayon didn't become more popular. He didn't suddenly get more likes or comments. But people started noticing him for different reasons. Not because he fit in, but because he didn't. They began asking for his opinion, not because he was the loudest, but because he always said what he truly believed. His teachers picked up on his focus. His drawings became more detailed, more honest. He wasn't trying to be an artist. He was just expressing what he couldn't always say out loud. And through that, something deeper returned, his confidence. Not the fake kind that comes from fitting in, the real kind. the one that comes from standing alone and not shaking, the kind that doesn't depend on who claps for you, but on whether you believe what you're doing matters. He still admired others. He still learned from them, but now he didn't copy, he created. Because there's a big difference between being inspired and being replaced. One morning, Rayan was walking to school when he passed a younger student sitting alone on a bench, sketching quietly. Something about the scene felt familiar. He stopped, glanced at the notebook and said, "That's really good." The boy looked up, surprised. "Thanks, I don't show it to many people." Rayan smiled. "You don't have to, just don't stop drawing." As he walked away, it hit him. He had become someone he used to need. Not someone loud, not someone perfect, just someone real. And in a world full of filters, trends, and noise, that was rare. That night, he opened his old notebook, flipped to the first messy sketch, and then to the latest one. The difference wasn't just in the lines, it was in the clarity. He wasn't trying to look like someone else anymore. He wasn't performing. He was creating from within. And maybe that's all we really need, not to be better than others, but to be truer to ourselves. Because imitation may win attention, but only authenticity wins peace. Soon after, Rayan was invited to participate in a school showcase where students could present something personal: art, music, poetry, anything. The old Rayan would have hesitated, worried if his work was good enough, if it would get attention. But now, he saw it differently. He chose to present a series of his drawings titled Unfiltered. No theme, no flashy colors, just raw sketches from the last few months. No copies, no trends, just him. On the day of the showcase, his display wasn't the biggest. There was no music playing, no dramatic title banners, just a table, a sketchbook, and a boy who had finally made peace with who he was. People stopped to look. Some asked questions. A few walked past. But Rayan didn't care about the numbers. He cared about the feeling, the quiet confidence of sharing something real. When a student asked, "Where do you get your ideas?" he simply said, "From not trying to be anyone else." And that line stayed with people longer than his drawings did. That night, after the showcase, Rayan walked home under a quiet sky. The streets were empty, the noise of the day fading into stillness. He didn't replay what others had said. He didn't count how many people liked his work. He wasn't measuring anything anymore. Instead, he thought about how far he had come. Not in recognition, but in self-trust. He remembered the boy who copied trends, who feared being different, who hid the best parts of himself just to fit in. And he smiled. Not because he had become someone else, but because he had finally stopped trying to. In his room, he opened a new sketchbook. Blank pages stared back at him. Space, potential, freedom. He didn't rush. He just drew the first line. Not for show, not for proof, just because it felt right. And that was the moment he truly understood. You don't need to follow someone else's path to get somewhere meaningful. You just need the courage to walk your own, step by step, quietly, consistently, and fully as you. Because when you stop copying, you start becoming.